Sometimes I approach the page with shame because maybe not exactly consciously, but it's kind of somewhere there. Because we are raised to be doctors, and I don't know, engineers and whatever job out there that is not being a writer.
Welcome to another edition of Picture Time, and in this edition we are bringing you two poets, Esther Mngodo and Gervaz Lushaju. They're speaking about their poetry, finding joy in writing and in art, as well as balance between the demands of the daily life and the creative process, something that is not always easy. Welcome.
So at least I think in the beginning of my journey as a writer, I would feel like it's not something I could say proudly that I'm a writer. Something I need to justify. Why do I need to lock myself in a room or go to the beach or do something and not hang with the family or,
Did the family treat you different?
No, but what I'm saying is, and perhaps it's not them, it would just be me because of how I don't know if we're projecting what they think about what that means, what you're doing means. What does it mean for you to be a writer? Does it mean that you're broke? What does it mean to follow your passion? Why don't you just be a normal person? So all I'm saying is, I think sometimes it just goes back to the meanings that we attached to these things, the meaning that we attach to being a poet, the meaning that we attach to being a photographer, etc. I'm not saying it is right, but I'm saying that sometimes it can be an unrestful place when you constantly have to think, okay, I know that this is what I'm good at, this is what I want to do, but also there's this burden of all these other things.
Yeah. Reminds me of a meme that just said, like, in an African household, you can either be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or an embarrassment to your family.
Oh, dear God.
For those of us who've picked this path.
Yeah.
But I have a friend of mine. She's a surgeon in KCMC, and she appreciates art a lot. And she was talking about how there's saving a life, and there's something that they call quality of life. That they determine, like, if we do this, what will be the quality of the person's life? But she says, quality of life is what we do. They all save the life, but the context in which that person lives in and needs things to consume and enjoy and make their life a little bit brighter and like their existence worthwhile is mostly what artists do. Yeah. Film and mute, like all of those things, those beautiful things you add on there. So yeah, you can be an engineer and you build a structure, and it could be a bunch of walls and mirrors and steel, and it's lifeless. And then someone comes in and they're an interior designer and they do things to the space, and there's a reason why that side exists. And I feel like it's just one of those things where, because we're a little bit more abstract in what we do, it's harder for people to lend the value, because even sometimes they can't explain what that value is. Some people know it's like, it's there, we need someone to design this thing and make it look nice, and they can't. There's a phrase, before I dropped out of architecture, there's a phrase that would say, the client doesn't know what they want until they see it. Like when they see it, it's like, that's what I wanted, but they can't tell you what it is right up until then.
Interesting.
And that's the art in it. That's like, I feel like seeing what you do as holding it in its own esteem in this context where, the arts are not what people expect of people being artists, and what their existence is like is quite different.
But do you feel like the place where you are in your art, is it a restful place?
I'm a bit like you. So everything I do, my job, my free, all of it is just related to my art. So it's work, and there's a rest that I consider, like, if I'm in the grips of an idea. Like I want to do something, I want to shoot something, and it will not let me rest until I do it. I have a thing I want to write, and I need to stop what I'm doing and start at least writing a few lines, and I'll pick up on it later. And when I finish it, the kind of satisfaction that it gives me, and this is why artists have managers. There are people who are musicians, but they get the satisfaction purely out of getting the thing in their head out into the world and just like, there it is. And the commercialization and the working and turning it and trying to make money, it's a whole other thing. And some people don't like it because it feels like you're cheapening this thing that you made. But there's work that goes in there. Whereas when I'm creating and I'm reaching the output, I don't feel as much as if it is work. But when I have to do everything else that comes around it, that feels like work. But the rest, I think it really comes from, like, when I travel somewhere just on vacation, I will still go and take pictures. Like, for me to enjoy being there, I'll be like, okay, let me do this thing that I love, but with no client expectations. It's a kind of rest that feels very purposeful. Like, it's a fulfilling. There's rest where you rest to just release and calm and don't think of anything. And when I paint, I don't paint like professionally, but when I go into painting, just the like feeling the texture of the brush on the canvas, it's very, you focus on one thing. I find it to be very therapeutic and very calming in a way that going to sleep wouldn't do the same thing. Like, it's a kind of rest. It's a break from the way that maybe my brain works or whatever it is, but it's there are instances in which it is rest. It's a break from everything else. It's just maybe for me also everything else is also the art. But even when I'm resting, I rest through the things that I like to do creatively.
I think in the end it's about finding a space, either finding or creating a space for yourself whereby you can feel the balance. You could feel that what I'm doing is purposeful. Like, I think the main question is usually like, if you had a choice to start over, would you still be doing the very things that you're doing? And I think that's like a very important question between the creativity and the necessity of making life works. Where are you falling? Are you on the one extreme where all your life is just about getting your needs be met, or on the extreme end, which is now like could be very broke artist, where everything in the world just revolves around your art. So I really like this poem. It's called "The Road to Santiago" by somebody, forgot his name, White. Somebody, forgot his first name. And there is a line that he's saying, he's a poet, the line that he says, the longest journey that you will have ever taken is moving from far inside yourself into the unknown. You know, that's the longest journey. What is that unknown? I think all relationships with your work, with your art, with your friends, with the world requires that sense of moving from deep inside yourself into the unknown. There is a risk of being hurt. There is a risk of being broke. There is a risk of it not working the way you would want it to work. But the journey will have, it's worth it to take the journey, because you might not find what you're looking for, you find something else. And I think for me, filmmaking has always been that. And I've kind of like becoming more comfortable in that space of the unknown. In the words of his, I like this word from, she's an anthropologist. What's her name? Forgot her name. Staying with the trouble. She wrote something about staying with the trouble, staying at the crossroad, staying where, being comfortable with being in a place of friction, right? And not necessarily being confused all the time, but finding peace in the midst of it, because life will continue. The needs of family, the needs of our own conflicts with ourselves, with the world, not knowing what we want, all this is part of life. And increasingly in the world that we live in, our work is defined by, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, our role within this larger society. And the question is like, how do we carve a space for ourselves so that we can see ourselves? So I think that's what poetry did to us. That's what filmmaking and the arts and taking time to move beyond ourselves do to us. So thank you very much for this wonderful session. And we are very thankful to Gervaz, to host.